Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode number 72. Is 72 something? I don't know. 72 is a lot. That's what it is. 72 is a lot. How about that? Of the Vito X DINO podcast. My name is Vito Delsante. His name is Dean Haspiel.
Hi everyone. I'm Dean Haspiel.
Oh,
Is 72 the age that is that the median age or whatever when men live up to, or was it 74? Or I feel like it was somewhere in the 70s.
I thought it was like 75 or 76, but
Maybe.
72. 72 just, I think my grandmother died at 72.
Oh, from what?
Oh, she had a litany of issues,
Okay.
unfortunately, like
Okay.
diabetes, I think cancer. Uh,
What else?
and I'm laughing because of a comment from the peanut gallery. But yeah, so I think
Wait,
that's
what was the comment? I don't know if anybody heard it.
I can't. I'm not gonna repeat it.
Oh, okay. What, like she died from assholia or
No,
something?
no, not about my grandmother. That's the
Oh,
point.
sorry.
Like it was about someone else.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, that's off the record. Okay.
Speaking of
Um,
72, um, how about the Knicks? Not that 72 has anything to do with
oh,
anything.
the Knicks, the basketball team.
Yeah,
So
man.
what's funny about that is Whitney Matheson took me to go see the Liberty play,
Yes.
the all-girl basketball team. They played the Portland Fire, and at Barclays, and I've been to Barclays a few times before. I took my mother there to see Barbara Streisand.
Hmm.
There was one time where I was hired to draw a piece of original art for The Weekend.
Oh,
And
cool.
so we got tickets to see The Weekend and a band called Ray Shremmerd, which is drummer's ear
Yes.
backwards. And I think there was another hip hop type of band. And Mike Houston, Mike and Marie Houston invited me and Jen Ferguson to it was like a Rock and Roll Hall of Fame event, and like The Cure played and a whole bunch of great bands. So I feel like I've been there maybe 4 or 5 times, and I feel like there's another thing I saw there. But I went there, and I don't think I've been to a basketball game
Like a live basketball game, like a
since the
professional.
1980s or
Yeah.
something, and like I just don't really follow sports, right? So I. I saw the game. It was a lot of fun. I didn't realize that when they're taking the commercial breaks, there's so much more stuff happening
Yes.
on and like people are doing commercial, they're doing little games with fans or
Mhm.
celebrating this or that. My favorite thing about the whole event is when the towel guy comes out and cleans the floor really quickly. Like, that is amazing. I just can't. I'm enamored by that. I don't know why. It's so basic but so crucial, at the same
It
time.
happens when, like, say a player goes up for a rebound or something, and then they come down and they fall.
Good
And,
fall.
like, like then you see him just come out and just
Yeah,
whack
it's like
real
this
quick.
smear of sweat, but also it kind of reminds me of that weird Olympic sport where they have the mops and they're trying to
Curling.
move like a disc. What's
Yeah,
it called?
curling. Curling.
Curling. So it's almost like curling, but a solo curl, with towels or something and sweat. It's a lot of fun. But so we get out of the game and we're walking, and within 5 minutes, Brooklyn roars.
Mm.
Like, it was. I was like, who? What bomb got? Did a president die?
Yeah, yeah.
Like, what happened, right? And all the bars are filled and packed, and they're all jumping up and down, and everyone's talking to us like, "Yeah, we did it," and like, no, the Liberty lost. Like they by a few, and like what we found out soon enough was that the Knicks had won a basketball game that I'm not aware of, and apparently it was really important to advance them. And then I went home and watched the news, and it's like they haven't been to where they haven't gotten this far in what, like 50 years or something, or what is it?
They haven't been the champs of the East, I believe, since '99,
Okay,
and they
so
haven't they haven't won a championship since the '70s.
oh,
Um,
okay, so it's been 50 years for a
so
championship
now
then.
they're going to the finals after having won their last 11 games straight. Like they lost
Right.
3 games in Atlanta, like against Atlanta, and they haven't lost since. So they beat Atlanta, then they swept Philly, which was supposed to be tough. Um,
Right.
Philly had a couple of injuries that they probably would have been a more formidable team, but then they swept Cleveland, which Cleveland was supposed to be another tough team, and like so now we're waiting
Right.
to see who wins between Oklahoma City and the San Antonio Spurs. So
Right. Right.
that's the finals. It's going to be the Knicks versus one of those two teams. And I'm a lifelong Knicks fan. I'm a lifelong Mets fan. I suffer in silence every year. And I haven't watched any playoff games because the last time I watched a game for the Knicks, they lost. So I've just been like, mm-mm.
Do you feel as a fan that like the reason why you're not watching, for instance, is because you brought bad luck to it or something? Is it because of
Absolutely
you that
me.
because of you watching it is why they
Yep,
lost?
yep, it's me.
And that is what super fans I feel like feel very obligated and not only loyal, but that they actually affect change.
I
You
wish
know,
there was a correlation to comics like that. Like, oh, Superman died because I read Superman,
right, right, right.
or something like that. Like, but there's no, like
Well,
editor.
that's why we say a sports fan is much more hardcore than even a comic book fan.
I would say, I mean,
You know,
you're so much of your identity is tied into a team. Like you see a lot of folks that grew up in the 70s, Charlie McKelvey being one of them, is a big, huge Dallas Cowboys fan.
right, right.
And I grew up being a Giants fan. And then when I was watching college football, and there was a player by the name of Sal Unesi who was a quarterback for Colorado, and he died like suddenly, and
Mm,
I just like after reading the article and everything, I just started following Colorado, like their college team. This is while I was in high school, and their quarterback Cordell Stewart, who was like his not an understudy, but like the second on the depth chart after Anesi. He led them to a national championship. So I was a big Colorado fan. Cordell
hmm.
Stewart gets drafted to the Pittsburgh Steelers, and I just followed. That's how I became a Pittsburgh Steelers fan.
Got it,
Kind of,
got it.
and it kind of coincided with Lawrence Taylor, like the tail end of his career. So I pretty much followed the Giants because of Lawrence Taylor, and then I followed the Steel, and I've been a Steelers fan since. But here's the thing about sports is that they're played by humans, and they have a lot of human failings. So there was a point there where I had to kind of evaluate my fandom for Pittsburgh, the
Mm,
Steelers, I should say, because their quarterback was accused of rape.
mm.
And I was like, I can't in good conscience, like, and there was a couple of years where I was just like, well, he got acquitted, he got let off and everything. And then like I just started just being kind of an adult about it and just being like, there has to be something to the accusation. So at that point, I was just like, I'm not watching till he leaves the league or gets traded. And
Mm,
I held true to that. And actually, I haven't
mm,
watched football like regularly,
hmm.
since.
I can't
But
tell you a Yankee or a Met. I don't remember what the football and basketball teams honestly are in New York. Like, growing up when I was a little kid, uh, my favorite football player at the time was Tony Dorsett, and I think he was on the Cowboys,
yeah.
right, the Dallas Cowboys.
Mhm.
And then I remember Super Bowl 13. For some reason, I think that might have been was that the 49ers or the Steelers, or I don't remember who was
13
playing.
probably would have been
And the
might
quarterback
have been
went on to
San Diego.
become what?
Might have been San Diego.
Well, I
Dan
remember the
Fouts.
quarterback who's was on one of those teams. Maybe the Steelers went on to become kind of an actor on TV as some of those
Yeah, that
guys.
was Terry Bradshaw.
Yeah, Terry Bradshaw would have been the. Was that Steelers?
Hmm.
Okay, so it was Steelers, I think. And then I just kind of fell out of sports. I mean, I used to play sports, but my mother taught me sports, how to play
The
sports.
the Super Bowl 13 was played by the Steelers and the Cowboys, and
And
the
the Cowboys.
Steelers won 35-31.
So I was rooting for Tony
For
Dorsett.
in case anybody wanted to score for a game that happened in 1979.
Ah. And then I was talking to Whitney. I figured out why sports is so popular, more popular than when people are watching like Game of Thrones or something.
Hmm.
It's because you cannot predict the plot, and
That's
it's
true.
a
To an
and it
extent.
huh?
I think to an extent that's true.
Well, what I mean by that is like you're watching to see who's going to win, and then it can change dramatically, or it can be super boring, whatever. Like it's there to see who's going to quote win the contest, you
Right.
know.
I mean,
And
there are statistics like in baseball, like batting average and all that stuff. There's like in football, there's like quarterback ratings and
hmm hmm
defensive stats and stuff. I mean, all the
right,
stats can lead you to a
right.
quote unquote educated guess as to who's going to win. But you
No,
watch,
absolutely, of course. And then if people are cheating and throwing a game, whatever, blah blah
right,
blah. Like the betting part actually kind of changes, kind of the some aspects of the contest, as it were.
right,
But at the end of the day, you ultimately don't know how it's going to end.
yeah,
Whereas when we're watching a movie or TV show, you as a writer or creator, at least we're trying to figure out how this is gonna where this is gonna wind up, kind of a
right.
thing. And you can't really predict that unless the score is just so wide, you're like, well, they lost
Well, that's
or
the
they won, you
that's the
know?
fun thing about comics, in that respect, is that um, superhero comics at the very most, is probably the leading cause of this. But I think you could probably make an argument for like a Love and Rockets or Strangers in Paradise type of thing as
Right.
well. Is that whenever you have a hero who is the kind of like the banner. Oh
hmm
God, I love how all the characters age in real time, almost with Jaime.
So I'm showing up the cover to Love and Rockets number 17, which is probably like the reboot numbering system or
Yes,
something. And it's the magazine size, and it's just one of the most famous characters that Jaime Hernandez created is sitting in a hospital gown at a clinic or whatever, probably getting a checkup or whatever. I haven't read the story yet.
mm.
And yeah, they age in real time. And I think the only other person who does that maybe is Eric Larson
I
with
was gonna
his
say
Savage
Savage
Dragon.
Dragon. But the thing about like superhero comics, Superman, for example, is you read a Superman comic and at some point he's going to beat whatever enemy he's going to have. And then all of a sudden, like I think even to the point where Death of Superman, you're still reading it just because, like, well, how can Superman die? All right, no, he can't die. Like, and then like he's dead, and you're like, well, what are they going to do? They still publish Superman in Action Comics. How are they going to keep doing this? And then you read and you see the five or the four replacements and stuff, and and then you watch how he gets resurrected and stuff, or even like Batman being having his back broken. It's like, how can you have a Batman comic without Batman? And
Right.
it's predictable, but there are certain instances where you can play on that kind of expectation and convention a little bit to kind of throw a surprise at somebody, like Wolverine getting. And the weird thing is, like all these things happened in our late teens, early adulthood, you know, era. Like I would say
70s,
probably
80s, more 80s.
80s and 90s, really
80s,
like.
90s, yeah.
And I think that's why people have such a like a nostalgic like sweet spot for the 90s because things
hmm
actually happened. Wolverine getting his adamantium pulled out of his skeleton. Um, the whole onslaught thing with Professor Xavier and Magneto
hmm
and creating a new world, Captain America losing his super soldier serum, and dying and then all of a sudden being reborn with Mark
But
Waid.
it's funny, you're talking about the 90s, and that's where I kind of started to slowly check out of most
I
comics.
and the thing is, when I read 90s comics now, they're very cringy and not in a bad way. Just like, oh, that was how they were told, like comics were told, or how they were
Yeah.
edited, and like how they and like you could see like as the decade goes on, the need for a Bendis. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. Well, where it slowed down the pacing,
right,
there was more conversation, more talking, more, Mammoth-esque type of
right,
storytelling, let's call it, play theater, you know. And it's because there was a lot of stunts happening to try to save comics, right?
right.
And for me, the interesting comics in the 90s were like from Fantagraphics and Drawn and
Yeah.
Quarterly and the alternative stuff, including when me and Josh debuted Keyhole Comics in the mid 90s,
And
starting as
and
a mini comic and then getting publishers.
yeah,
So
and I think again, like the 90s are when I discovered Stray Bullets, when I discovered
exactly.
Rangers in Paradise and
I,
Love and
I'm
Rockets.
I'm going to show you a comic book because this is maybe part of the conversation really quick.
Mhm.
This is a Fantastic Four number 10, and I mean the recent number 10,
Yeah,
the
what's the
renumber.
legacy numbering?
Legacy is 736.
Okay.
And I get my comics from DHU Comics. They mail me my comics every couple of months.
Shout
I
out
don't have that
DHU,
many
Staten
comics
Island, New York.
in Staten Island, New York. I don't get to go to Staten Island. Last time I was there was with you. And so I get like Fantastic Four, Spider-Man, Savage Dragon, World's Finest, and a couple other books here and there. Not a lot, which is
Hmm.
why I can stagger and then I get the pile and then it takes me a couple more months to read them. Anyway, what I wanted to show you was you have a cover,
Yeah.
okay? You open up the cover, you have your first ad
Yeah.
inside front cover. Then you have like the credits page, which now not only tells you the basic information of what a Fantastic Four comic is, but it also catches you up on what
Like a
happened
recap.
previously.
Mhm.
Little recap, and then you have like your the credits. Then you turn that page, and you get the first page of the comic. How confusing is this layout?
That's stupid.
You
And
get
I
the
say
first
that
page of a Fantastic Four story, and next to it is a giant ad for a Bishop comic. And
here's
then you turn the page again, sorry, and then it goes
no,
back to the comic. And then later on, a couple pages later, and listen, God bless him, you get like a 2-page Sal Buscema,
tribute. Yeah.
and that's cool. But I'm wondering if, like, the way they laid out this comic is so weird. And I'm going
Here's
toward the end right now.
here's a little inside baseball
Yeah.
for viewers and listeners. Um, Comics start on an odd number page and they end on an even number page. So that's why whenever you read a comic, it's either 20, 22, 24, 32, 48, 64, 80 pages. Like these are the numbers that we use. And the thing is, it's because you have the flip to, either
Turn the page.
to
Yeah.
turn the page to either a transition to a scene or to open up to a bigger splash page, a double page splash sometimes. And the inherent problem with what Dean was showing, if you were just listening and you don't have the visuals, the inherent problem with what Dean was showing is you had page one, which was on page one, and then you had the flip. Actually, no, page one was the recap page.
Yeah.
So when
Page
you
one is a
flip
recap. So you flip it, and now you're starting on page two, let's
two,
say,
which is where page one is,
which
and
is
then
now
they put
page
an
one.
ad. They put an ad on page three, which doesn't make sense in creating. We've been making comics probably collectively for about 70 years, with you having the bulk of experience between the two of us. And I would venture a guess to say that probably within the first 2 to 3 years, especially you with interning with Walter and Howard and everybody, I would say that you're learning layout as well as doing the actual work. And layouts don't work the way that comic was set up. That's just not how you lay out a comic. One of the things, it's funny because I was prepping the contents of Stray number 3, which are at the printer right now. There's a couple of issues with the color that I think the printer is going to help us out with. But
Yeah,
we're
I
trying
read
to figure out,
that update, the Stray update, and I was
yeah,
so confused by the tech issues, like that
yeah.
the blacks aren't black and the coloring is off, and what
The
happened?
whites are like an off-white in the colors. The black isn't true black. It's a very like I don't the colors that I worked with who will be credited on the comic, but I really don't wish to bring up his name because I don't want to disparage somebody
No, no, you
working
don't
with him
have
or
to.
anything like that.
I just want to
But
learn, like, what happened, like, what did they do?
it
What
was
happened?
such a weird like Charlie showed me. I have a word balloon that's black with a white stroke on it and white letters inside. And it butts up against a border, and in between, in the gutters, it's supposed to be white as well. But that white was colored instead of just being pure white. So then you have like an off white, and then the white butt from the word balloon, which is
Right.
true white, and it's just like it sticks out. Like it's a very weird, and it's not something that I don't think anybody will notice in the print version because we're looking at it in a macro sense. We're looking at it like zoomed in and stuff. But those
Sure.
are the things that you notice when you do digital, especially on something where you're doing like kind of a guided read with not that I think we use that, but like some people like to read their
Or on an iPad you can pinch and get close,
right,
that kind of
and
thing.
that's when you'll notice it. And then and Charlie McKelvey, fantastic quality control with Blue Squirrel, Blind Squirrel, excuse me, and Zion Studios. Like he does a lot of work on that stuff before he sends anything out. And he noticed it and he's like, "What the hell happened?" And I'm like,
Mm,
"Look, man, there's a reason why I don't work with that colorist anymore, and that's
right,
why."
right, right,
And
right.
it actually that wasn't why I wasn't working with him. I stopped working with him because he was unprofessional. Like he did something where I was asking for a update, and he just didn't send me an update for like a month, and I was like, "We can't work like this. We're trying to make a comic. There's a certain you know etiquette to it." So
You're reminding me of, and I'm not going to name names, but it was, and I'm trying to remember the actual details, but uh, an editor asked me, it, to recommend a colorist, and I recommended the colorist, and there was only a 2-page story for an anthology, right? Like it had like 50 stories, it was 2 pages, and apparently it took forever to deliver these 2 pages. And when the pages finally came in, the line art had been in places redrawn and thickened or made thinner. Like the artist was like, "What the hell did you do to my art?" And somehow the colorist had maybe colored it, trapped it, didn't have layers anymore,
oh yeah,
started noodling on the one layer that they had, was changing things because they messed up, and was trying to maybe sneak it by. And everyone was like, "I have no idea what you just did." And it looked horrific, apparently. And then like they had to get someone else to then recolor it like in a day, and they did, because you can
huh.
find people like that. I think that's what happened. But I remember thinking, I was just imagining being in their shoes where they've messed up, they're like still new to the game kind of a thing, and like they're figuring out how to fix the mistake.
Yeah.
It's almost like in a way, I'm not, wasn't there something to do with like a painting with Jesus or something, and then
Oh yeah, a couple of years ago, and they
what was
tried.
that? And like the touch up artist like did the most. I loved it when I saw it. I thought it
Oh
was like
God,
incredible, like outlier kind of art, on top of a some kind of classic,
but it just wasn't what you know.
it was just like it's like taking the Sistine Chapel and putting rerun from uh what was that show? Uh or no, Shirley Hempel,
Yeah,
from
from What's Happening.
What's Happening. I was thinking rerun, but Shirley Hempel's even funnier. And just replacing like Jesus with Shirley Hempel or something like that. Do you remember? Are you looking it up right now?
Yeah, I'm gonna pull up the picture because I found one that has both of them side by side.
Oh, you mean
Um,
like the original, like what they were trying to update, or
yeah, yeah, it's called it's a Jesus fresco. Like
that
called
sounds like a great character. You should write that character, man.
Jesus fresco.
Jesus Fresco, man. Come on.
um,
Has anybody done that? You got to do that.
I don't know. It
Add it
was
to your bulk of
of character
heroes
names.
and characters. Yeah.
It's the painting Ecce Homo, Ecce Homo, which was done by Elias Garcias Martinez,
Oh,
and
I thought it was a woman that did it, but okay.
she did the retouch. Her name was
Oh, I'm sorry, the retouch on the
yeah,
the original art. I see what you're
right.
saying.
So where is my share screen? Here it is. Oh boy.
Ah,
Welcome to Relevant Comics Conversation in 2026.
there we go.
We're talking about a painting from a couple of years ago.
That's incredible. No, but what's incredible is handing that in and going, okay,
Done.
done, we're good. Like, that's incredible to me. Like, I mean, like, I would respect it if the touched up one was just an original piece of art. I'd be like, okay, whatever, fine. That's
I mean,
you do
essentially,
you.
that's what it is.
Well, essentially it is, but it's unbelievable the difference, and the massacre of the original
Somebody let their
piece,
kid do it, is what happened.
basically, right? Like that person was blind that did that, like unbelievable.
It
Anyway,
does. It bears no resemblance to the image beforehand, except for some of the colors.
okay, so check this out. Jesus Fresco, that's their power. Now, I don't exactly know what the power is to what to diminish you the way you look or something, or
To destroy art by upon
by what by just looking at it or
by
something,
the
like
by the way,
altering the properties of art, you know.
this is great. The Wikipedia lists Cecilia Jimenez, but in parentheses it says restoration attempt. Attempt. It's like an
Damn.
attempted murder.
Yeah. Oh no, it was a murder. They succeeded. There
Oh,
was no attempt. It was a resurrection attempt and a full-fledged murder,
they
you know.
crucified Jesus twice. How? How was that possible?
That's incredible. I swear there's a story there, Vito, and
Yeah,
we'll crack it.
but yeah,
Jesus
again,
Fresco.
going back to layouts and stuff, it's something that, like with that Marvel comic, Fantastic Four comic, it's something that's just, anybody that, the problem is that if you read one of our comics, Dean and um, I sometimes will put like an in-house ad for something that's coming. Like I showed Dean one of the in-house ads that I'm doing in Stray 3, and it's just like, you just want people to get excited. So I can see the benefit of it. They're not paid ads, and to which is ridiculous when you think about it, because a lot of the ads that are used in comics are ads paid for by Warner Brothers. Um, Sometimes you see a Snickers ad or something like that. There was a point where Subway had commissioned like a full blown 4-page comic that they put it in the middle, and then you're reading like a DC comic, and then all of a sudden you read, God forbid, you're reading Justice League. You're reading a Justice League comic, and then all of a sudden the Justice League is fighting, somebody for stealing Subway sandwiches or something like that. And it's I understand that they're trying to attract the audience that's reading a comic to their product, but by using a comic. But the thing is, you can't just put it in the gatefold, man. Like you gotta like put it.
It was actually I'm sure heads rolled at Marvel when that comic came out and somebody made a mistake. That clearly is a mistake,
Yeah, and
you
then
know.
and the other part of it is these ads are paid for. They're supposed to drive the cost of the comic down,
You would think.
and the comic prices go up. Like it makes
It,
no
it
sense.
it's crazy. In fact, you know what? So I'll pull up the next issue, Fantastic Four number 11. As you can tell, I'm catching up on my FF. And I'm like, okay, so comics are like, so FF10 was what, how much did it cost?
24.
3.99,
Okay.
right? 3.99. The next issue is 5.99. I'm like, why? And this is why. Do you see what it says there?
Oh, Stan Sakai.
So Stan Sakai, after you get your issue of FF, did a short story in the back called The Digger in the Dark, and it's a Mole Man story. And it's done in
Cool.
his style. I'm showing
Um,
you the first page or whatever.
yeah.
And it reminded me like Tom Brevoort, who's the editor, I have been emailing you ideas for short FF stories that I would love to do. And in fact, it reminded me a little bit of when Abrams, Charlie Kochman's, comics imprint at Abrams, and it's
Abrams
called
Comics
Abrams.
Art, I think.
Is it comics art or graphic art or something like that?
Something like that. Yeah.
And like they produced two Marvel anthologies where I did write and draw like a 6-page Mole Man story for kids,
Hmm.
and like essentially this was for kids, this Stan Sakai story. It's almost felt like, was that meant to be for that anthology series and it just didn't make it in or something? But if not, if they're going to start adding like these little backups again to pump up the price, let's say, I'm going to get in on that.
Yeah,
Like,
why not?
come on, Tom Brevoort. Anyway, I gotta write him an email, another one that he can ignore.
Yeah. So I'm flipping through Spider-Man Superman, which came out a couple weeks ago.
Yep,
Um, and you know what's weird? It's a 7.99 cover price, right?
right.
I don't see an ad that's not a Marvel Comics in-house ad.
Yeah, I was just that's not.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
not
it's all in house because what they're trying to do is get the DC fan to pick up, to get enticed by other Marvel comics,
right. I
and
mean,
like I mean, listen, most ads are just in-house ads these days. I mean, when we grew up reading superhero comics, we had like a couple of pages that had like 30 little ads on it, right?
Right.
And like X-ray specs and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
I also got I haven't read this yet, but you see this what's in my hand now?
Is that the Bizarro? Yeah.
So it's a Bizarro miniseries, and the one thing that and it looks really great, I haven't read it yet. So the title's at the bottom, which makes sense because Bizarro's backwards. But you know what occurred to me?
Mm.
It should start on the last page
Yeah,
and go to the first page.
that would be fun.
You know, like you'd have to tell a certain kind of story. And again, I haven't read it, so maybe it does that. But that's the trick. That's the fun, right? Oh, Paul
So,
Kaminsky is the editor. I should give him a shout too.
so I just flipped through the last copy of Batman that I have by Matt Fraction, and the
Right.
only ad that's not an in-house ad, and there's only like three, maybe four in-house ads in this, is this back cover ad where some kind of like DC coins
Points.
uh, done by United States Mint. So that's the only ad, and that's a cover price of $4.99. So
Hmm.
I don't know. I don't.
Interesting.
My theory's falling apart.
Well, I was gonna say also 4.99. Just say $5. Just say
Yeah, yeah,
$4.
yeah.
What's up with the 99? Like, and then on top of it, like at least when it's a special, we discussed this recently. Like when it feels like a one shot, you just pay for what it is. But when it's just like the 10th issue or the third part of a story out of a 5-part story, like come on, man, just make it affordable. But I don't know. There are smarter people that know that can figure out like what the pricing truly means.
The
You
truth of
know,
the matter is the legacy titles, action, detective. I'd make an argument for Batman and Superman, but Batman just did its renumbering with when Fraction came on, so I'm going to abstain from that one. But your Amazing Spider-Mans, your Fantastic Fours, they should all be the baseline price of introductory, whatever the introductory price is, like $3.99 across the board. Your miniseries, like your maxi series, like your Crisis on Infinite Earths or something, or whatever the next one is for DC, Death Metal, whatever. Those should be your prestige prices, which were like $5.99, because the only people that really are going to read them are the people that read the modern, the everyday book.
but
So
let me ask you, you're talking about introductory prices. So just think
yeah,
about the introduction of comics too. Like, when we were kids, some kind of parental figure, whether it really was your parents or not, you could go to not a comic book shop, but a store
yeah,
that sold comics, and the kid, me or whatever, you would be like, "Oh, I want that," and it didn't feel prohibitive, the
yeah,
price,
yeah.
like 25 cents, 35 cents, 40 cents, a dollar, right? It didn't feel as prohibitive. But I feel like today now a parent might be walking and a kid might be like, I want to try out a comic book. And then they might look at 3 or 4 comic books and realize that would be $20.
Right.
So you're going to pick one comic book, you
Yeah.
know? And like that's not serving, the franchise or the industry. But then again, maybe that's just what it costs. I don't know.
My daughter reads manga. So one book is the equivalent of maybe two, maybe
Comics?
three individual comics. And she's
Sure.
getting at least five in each one. You know what I mean? Like five
Oh
chapters,
yeah.
6 chapters, you know what I mean? So it's a better value. You have your Shonen Jumps from Japan, which are almost like phone book size, for those that are millennials or Gen Z, phone book was a thing that they would send in the mail so you knew who to call, where to call without Googling it. So Shonen Jump is a magazine, a monthly magazine that's like $9.99 US price that has at least six different comics in it. So one comic from that gets put into a collection with five other comics from the month, and it's Shonen Jump weekly, weekly, Dean.
I know.
And the thing is, like, introductory prices are. I mean, I can understand when you're doing an issue one, doing an introductory price. My idea is that it should always be an introductory price for the legacy titles. Like if you're
Right.
doing an Uncanny X-Men comic, it should always be the baseline introductory price of $3.99. Maybe even make number one 99 cents. I don't know. I would love to do stuff like this on my own boats, but I would make absolutely nothing. I would lose so
Oh
much
yeah,
money.
no, we can't do it as independent artists. And
Like,
and again, and like we're complaining about $4 and $5 comics. Meanwhile, we're selling for our one issue comics for 10 and 15.
right.
Like,
I was like, one of the conversations like I'm thinking about right now
but the
is
volume is different, the access is different, the
right.
marketing and the distribution is
Absolutely.
completely different.
I don't work on a monthly basis, but if I did, I might be able to afford to do a 3.99 comic because
Right,
at least it's frequently coming out and it's, something that will pay itself over time, even with a trade paperback
right.
as an eventual um, incentive to check out the book. But like I'm thinking about The Beast Within, which is my one-shot comic, that I showed you a page from this
Yep,
week. And
yep.
I was like, I'm fiddling around with this variant cover, and I'm like, I got to put a price up there. What's the price going to be? And I'm like, I think it's got to be $10. You
Don't
know?
put a price. The answer is
Oh,
to
that's
not
an
put a price.
answer. That's a good answer.
I don't put prices on my covers, you know.
Yeah, that's
Uh,
being tied to an old fashioned.
are you putting a barcode on it?
Uh, Probably eventually.
Well, not on a book, but not, I mean, not on a collection, but not on an individual comic, right?
Let's see. I have a copy of Stray #2 right here, and I think Charlie. Yeah, yeah. No, we don't have barcodes on it.
Right. So then that's the way to do it because, it's also weirdly enough, it can be a collector's item. Like you can only have so
Right.
many left or whatever, play that game a little bit. I mean, obviously, we're also talking about having an entry level, and I think Marvel and DC are kind of starting to do that by having like 6x9 size collections of
Oh,
some of
those
their
are great.
perennial
Yeah.
stories like Daredevil and X-Men and Batman and
I just
Superman,
picked up
Fantastic Four,
Gotham Central by Ed Brubaker, Greg Rucka, and Michael Lark, like the first 10 issues.
in a
That-
smaller format, right? So to me, I
the
think
DC
that that
Compact series, I think it's called.
right. So I think that's. I mean, I have one right here. Hold on, let me see if I can pull out. Like, and it actually comes with really cool extras. I
Yeah,
may have shown this before, but I have, for instance, the smaller size of
I have that.
Daredevil Born Again, but they also was, and it has in the back uh the pencils or at least layouts that
Mhm. That's
Mazzucchelli
Kelly.
did to tell his story, which is awesome. But this probably also was heavily supported by the fact that there's a TV show called Born Again.
It came
You
out
know,
exactly at the same time as the first season.
right, right. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know the answer. This is the eternal
Well,
question that we have.
do you know what that is? That's the we talked about it on here, I think, at one point, and it's like the Robert Kirkman school of it was with Nick Papora, where you have your comic, you have your trade paperback, then you have your omnibus, then you have your compact. Like you're just selling the same book to the same people over and over and over again. And
Well, it's the same people, but they're also selling it to new people as well that
as
want
as
that version of it,
absolutely the
or
same
that's how
people.
they get introduced. So the answer, I mean, again, we're not solving Marvel and DC comics at all. It's not our
No, no,
job. But that might be what you're talking about in terms of instead of having the cheaper kind of perennial comic, I mean, the other thing that's the elephant in the room is that they're telling the unending story. Like Spider-Man's had a comic since 1962,
Mhm.
and many comics, including with Superman recently,
Superman since
uh,
38.
and 50 years ago with Superman. But yeah, but the thing is, what you and I write and draw don't have that kind of shelf life. Don't have that kind of overarching 100 years old worth of story. Like
It
we
could.
we're basically it could, but we're not doing that because we are thinking as we get older. I don't know about you, but I mean, I think you've even said Stray's ending.
Yeah.
So I don't know necessarily Billy Dogman, Jane Legit's ending. I don't necessarily know the Red Hook. But if you told me, Dean, we're gonna underwrite you and we need to come up with an ending and do a 5-year plan or something, I could come up with an ending,
Right.
and of course you can always, noodle that later on again,
Right.
like resurrect as it were, but not that death is an ending.
Not
But
in comics.
you know, yeah, exactly. So if there was a plan, sure. But like if you asked me to that come up, like what Eric Larson's doing with Savage Dragon, he's nearing issue 300 soon. I know he has writer's block. He talks about
Yeah.
it, and like he's doing kind of the impossible. The other guy did it was Dave Sim. Didn't he do 300 issues of
Yeah.
Cerebus?
Hmm.
Not many people did that. I mean, Michel Fife did 50 issues plus of Copra. That's healthy.
I mean,
I'll
you
never
look
do
at
that. I don't think
you look at the Bone complete collection of Bone.
it's 10 volumes
That's
or more.
like
Yeah,
it's amazing. And
yeah. So,
the thing is, Dean, like you were saying about being underwritten, I think if we were given the opportunity to be on the stands monthly, to be compensated for that, and to be given, we're not lacking for stories. What we end up at the end of the day, what we're doing is we're being real artisans about it, and we're putting more effort into it. We're not churned by a
well,
machine.
we're not show running because eventually what would happen is you'd start to be your own Stan Lee. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like you'd have to like source out with a plan of sorts, and do what Marvel and DC does, at the end of the day.
Hey, here's a question for you. Speaking of Stan Lee, I was just thinking, like you said, you're show running, and I was like, oh, like imagine being 1960, 1970, or something like that, and like you got to find a replacement for yourself. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? And it's
yeah.
like, I don't know that I would, as much as I adore his books, and I was very heavily influenced by them, I don't know that I would hire Roy Thomas to take over Stray.
But wait, we're limiting it to a certain era
No,
of
no,
choices.
not necessarily. It's just that when you said Stan Lee, that was the first thing I
Oh,
thought.
I see what you're saying.
I
Oh, you
was
mean because
like,
Stan Lee kind of
handing it
handed
off
the
to Roy.
keys over to Roy Thomas, but I always saw that, and maybe I'm wrong, as a more of a show running
Yeah,
versus a
yeah.
writing. But yeah, who knows how that worked out,
And he
how
would
that happened
probably claim co-creation on Stray at that point.
at that point. But the question is actually, and I got to run to get a drink because I'm parched. But
Ah,
think about this and think about it out loud. I can hear you. Who would you have? Who would you pick as your first writer of Stray if you were show running Stray and artist? That's not the original team. You know what I'm saying? To perpetuate or tell an arc that would also excite the fans, as it were.
yeah,
Like, oh,
yeah.
we're getting so and so.
I'm going to
Parse
pause
that
the
out.
recording here.
Okay.
You're going to see a little jump from Dean to getting up to now. So we're going to pause it for a second so Dean can get his drink, and then we're going to
You need to record though.
So
Okay.
we're back. Dean has a beverage. I've done a little bit of thinking, and if you're privy to these emails that I get that I send out every now and again to my closest group of comic book friends. Like I would call them my best friends. You, Charlie, Sean Isaacs, Caleb Monroe, Scott Fogg. I could list more. Ray Anthony Height. Um, and there have been times where like I think I was about to get some kind of procedure done. I think it was for my back or something. And I had emailed all of you, and I was like, if anything happens, you guys are the custodians of Stray. And every time it happens, somebody will be like, "Oh, I can't wait to kill him off in the first issue," just to be,
Ah,
like to take the piss out of it and stuff.
right, right,
But
right.
my have if there was an opportunity for me to step away and hand it off to anybody, like any one person, it would be Caleb Monroe because like he's my daughter's godfather. I've done plotting with him, constantly. He hasn't done much lately. I think it would be, to everyone's pleasure to see him write a Stray comic. And he's actually written a short story that I thought was like it was only like eight pages, and it was phenomenal. It encapsulated so much in just
Hmm.
8 pages that I was like, that guy gets it. Um,
Right.
Ideally, I would pick Mark Wade, but
Well,
why
I was
would
gonna say not like nothing, but I'm gonna throw myself in the same pile. We're not like the names are maybe if it's your comic, it's one thing, but now you're trying to franchise it out, right?
right,
Like for
right.
real. So who is coming in to help sell and boost sales
Oh,
and
that's Mark. You're like
Mark Wade?
absolutely. I think, and going for the same uh, reasons that I would choose Caleb. I think Mark and Caleb have worked together. Funny enough, on
Mm-hmm.
Steve and Mrs. Peel at Boom Comics, um,
Mm-hmm.
and I think Mark would be able to. He's got this very incredible knack for looking at. what came before and just going, oh, there's a little hole of a little
Hmm.
opportunity that I can take
Hmm.
advantage of.
And
Right?
he also honors, like he
Absolutely.
understands character
Mhm.
and then elevates it through, like you said, finding that little bit, that little piece, and then obviously also telling like bigger stories, ultimately with like, a kingdom come and whatnot.
Right. And if I had to choose a second person, probably James Robinson. Um,
Mm,
based I haven't, admittedly read a lot of his stuff since Cry for Justice, which was very disappointing. But I don't know how much of that is James, how much of that is editorial. It's hard to say, but like I didn't really care for it. But Starman still remains one of my North Stars. Uh,
right.
pardon the pun. Like it is the comic that made me think I could write comics. Not that
Here's another idea: Jesus Fresco versus North Star Man.
well, there's already a North Star in Alpha Flight, but
But not North Star Man.
no, that's true.
Okay.
But yeah, like
Sorry.
James Robinson would be another choice. Um, if I had to franchise it out to like a third, I would really, really, really like to maybe bug Greg Rucka,
Mm-hmm.
just for a different take on Stray, like
Mm-hmm.
different, like
Mm-hmm.
grittier street, more street level. Um, it'd be a little more rough around the edges, which I would enjoy. Um, but yeah, I think those three and Caleb would be like give them all four like
And those are writers. So what about artists that were like,
artists. I would love to. Uh, Gabriel Hardman would be one person I would love to just because his take on heroes is so unconventional in a very conventional way, if that makes
mm-hmm,
sense. Like he makes you look at somebody like Green Lantern in one of his books that he did. He makes you look at Green Lantern in a way that you've never seen him before. He's, I think, either finishing up or currently working on a Question Batman Green Arrow miniseries,
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
which I think is brilliant looking. Like it's just
mm-hmm,
amazing. Um,
mm-hmm,
Another artist I would love to work on Stray would be Jamal Igle,
mm,
just because he's so connected to me and
mm-hmm.
so connected to the earlier days of creating Stray. Uh,
Right.
it's almost like having Sean Isaacs do it without having Sean Isaacs do it.
Sure.
Ray
I
Anthony, Ray Anthony
uh,
Marina. I'd love you to work on a Stray, like
oh, yeah, it'd be
you know what I
fun.
mean, like just on your own.
Absolutely. I feel like but for if we had to choose no longer living creators, I don't
Mm,
know why I'm thinking Denny O'Neil, Neil Adams, like,
on Stray, that'd be great. Yeah,
right?
I think also you could get a like a Jim Aparo on it, like and it's I think I've mentioned it on the show before. I was so cold on Jim Aparo growing up, and then I got older. I was like, oh my God, he is so technically proficient and just straight across solid. Like
Mm-hmm.
there's no I think I venerated and made Marshall Rogers a saint at the
Mm-hmm.
expense of ignoring how good Jim Aparo is. And that's not to say
Mm-hmm.
that he's better than Marshall Rogers or that Marshall Rogers is better than him. It's just that I was so into that look of Marshall Rogers' Dark Knight detective that I totally missed out on really appreciating Jim Aparo. I also
Mm-hmm.
like, Joe Staten would be another good one. He's still
Mm-hmm.
with us, but like
Mm-hmm.
Joe Staten did a stray pinup in the first miniseries, and it's
Mm-hmm.
just like the what ifs, like oh man, if I only,
Mm-hmm. I
like
can see Marv Wolfman writing, and he's still alive,
yeah,
writing he co-created Vigilante, right? As well
yeah,
as
yeah.
doing like Teen Titans and every
I mean,
great comic.
technically, whether you give the credit or not, he co-created Nightwing. Like that would be the guy, like
Right, right. There you
and
go.
and
There you go.
and if you're gonna do like a dream team, give me Marv Wolfman and Phil Jimenez on a stray like tomorrow,
And Jerry Ordway.
and Jerry Ordway inking. Jesus H Christ, I would like. If I owned a home, I'd mortgage it just for that.
I didn't do it just because we're being spontaneous, but I'm going to use Red Hook, for instance. That has the
Mhm.
most story that I've written and drawn. And right up top of the dome, the artist would be Chris Samney.
Oh yeah,
I
absolutely.
mean, come on, like, and in terms of a writer, obviously I've worked with Mark Waid as well, and we did a great job on the Fox. I could see him doing some fun stuff,
Yeah.
but also like if I'm going to throw a curveball, I might say because it involves a living, breathing, sentient piece of land, Brooklyn. What would Grant Morrison do with something like that?
Oh my God, yeah. Like
You
he'd
know,
totally go into that lore. That'd be fun.
we just get into some weird lore. I would also I would love to see Adam McGovern write something like a Red Hook. And I know he's not like in the Grant
No,
Morrison,
no,
Chris Sandy, Mark Waid realm, but
but between
he's
the
one
two
of
of us,
us,
yeah, I was gonna say we
and he
would
does
be able
have
to do that.
ideas. And he did co-create Aquaria, which is New Brooklyn, a New Brooklyn character in a lot of
Mhm.
ways. So with Paolo Leandre, the artist.
Yeah.
So he's already dabbled and dipped his toes, obviously, with New Brooklyn. So anyway, so I could probably come up with a bunch of others, but I wanted to quickly talk about, well, the fact that this is coming out. This episode, I think, comes out on June 1st,
Uh,
Monday.
Monday, June 1st. Yeah, that's right. That's
So
my
a couple
dad's
of things
birthday.
about that.
My
A
dad's
couple of
birthday,
things.
Marilyn Monroe's birthday.
So my birthday is May 31st.
Right?
I'll be 59, and I'm going to get into that in a minute. And Marilyn Monroe's birthday is June 1st. Okay, and she'll be 100 years old this June 1st,
Why are you doing quotes?
2026.
That's the age
Because it's because
she's
she's dead.
36 forever.
Exactly. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
so I always think it's funny when like we celebrate people's birthdays, but
Right.
100 is significant. Uh, and so I remember my father telling me that when they went to the hospital to give birth to me, you don't know when it's going to happen, and he instructed my mother that if we didn't give birth to me on the 31st, she'd have to close her legs until June 2nd. So
Such a,
luckily,
I mean, we're laughing, but such a like asshole thing to say.
I love it. I love it. I love it. So, and I'm going to be putting out on my Substack newsletter a half-hour impromptu interview I did with my
Oh, I
father
can't wait.
about Marilyn for her 100th birthday on June 1st. We've already mentioned that People Magazine recently interviewed my father in the magazine and online. And my father is the authority on Marilyn Monroe. You look him up, James Haspiel. He was 16 years old when he met her. Knew her the last 8 years of her life. He's a fan that became a friend. Blah blah blah, and he's everywhere when it comes to Marilyn.
Hmm.
And in fact, Julian's house right now is auctioning off letters that were found in Marilyn's estate that my father wrote to her,
Shut up.
and Paula Strasberg, Lee Strasberg's wife,
Yeah.
and other things and drawings he did. Like you go to Julian's, type in James Haspiel, and yeah, he's definitely part of her legacy
Mhm.
uh, and mythology. Anyway, so that's one thing. And I will also be going to Yaddo, the Artist Writers Retreat in Saratoga Springs, New York, tomorrow, Friday, the 29th. Again, when people are listening to this is probably on the 1st or later. Uh, and this will be, I think, my 7th time going, and it's a real honor and a privilege to be able to go onto a retreat. But Vito, I don't know why, for the first time, I have such a hesitation to go, and I think it's for a combination of
To go to
reasons.
Yaddo?
Well, going to Yaddo, but look at it more like going away
Uh-huh.
for a month. I'm sorry, I'm going away for 4 weeks. Okay, and if you told me one week, I wouldn't blink. I'd be like, fine. But 4 weeks is a substantial amount of time. And also, I don't have work. I don't have a job. And I really kind of haven't had a job because as a freelancer, you're always hustling and creating new
Right.
work. And in my case, I joke, but it's kind of true that I kind of quit comics in 2023 so I could reinvent it for myself through the joy of making comics, right? Which is why I've done 5 Kickstarters. And it's been uh what do you call it? Supplemented by getting some freelance work here and there, but living on the skin of my teeth, as we talk about as freelance artists, and you have a day job and I don't have a day job.
And like I'm starting to freak out because now I really am dipping into my savings, my minuscule savings, just to squeak by. And now I'm going to go on a retreat for a month,
Mhm.
where I'm not really. I don't even know if I'm going to draw there. What I have is about 10 things on my list to write, like 2 plays to finish, a screenplay to finish. But look what I'm talking about, a screenplay, a feature length screenplay. Who's going to give me money to direct and produce a feature length screenplay? I have 2 plays, but there is a possibility because I've had 4 plays, luckily produced by writers and directors and the actors they bring and everything else. In fact, I just did a reading at an owner Tukel salon the other night of a new scene I wrote. So I do like to mix it up. And actually that salon uh, owner admitted was inspired by Whitney Matheson's book of 24 short stories called The Feeling,
Mhm.
because it's like these vignettes, these short stories, and he wanted to ape the same kind of sensibility through inviting different writers to come in and have actors act off the book, off book as it were. Um, but so it's exciting and really cool to do this stuff and to be a part of the mix, but we don't make money at this. Everyone involved, who makes money? The venue. Because you go to the venue and people are buying drinks or they're buying food,
Right.
and the waiters are working, you're tipping, and they're still working around the thing. So the sound system sucks. And you're really at the back end of a bar or a restaurant, unless you have some kind of a theater space. So we're always trying to make it work, and make ends meet. And I think at coming to age 59, I don't know why it's this age, and maybe because I thought I was 57 when really I was 58, so I'm just getting older. I I'm super anxious and super worried about what am I doing with my life? Who
Oh,
am I?
it's also the year before you turn 60. And 60 is like
Yeah.
a harsh realization. It's
Yeah.
like going from 49 to 50, like it's this harsh realization that um, possibly something needs to change in order to get better, or whatever the case may be. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
for the record, while you were saying all this, the thing I was thinking was fucking Eeyore.
Me.
like, you're always throwing it at me, and I'm like, this is the most Eeyore
I
thing
pulled a
ever
Vito,
made.
man. I
Yeah,
pulled a
totally.
Vito.
And like,
And
and I heard a lot of my own words reflected back at me and stuff.
yeah, yeah.
And I think, and we had talked about this on the phone personally a couple of days ago, and I was like, I know for a fact you have a novel in you. Like, I know for a fact you have a novel. Whether or not you make a film out of this screenplay, people in the film industry that'll at least read it, and at least give you like some kind of feedback or tips or whatever. Um, I, I think also you have your dad, who the book about your dad is going to be fascinating to read, and
I mean,
only you and Whitney, with her help, only you can write that. And I
no,
think
I know, and I don't even know if I want to because in a way, uh this is such a bigger existential question. Like
I understand, and
I can't imagine my parents not being around, but then
mm,
what is life after? And you've experienced this early on,
yeah.
you know.
And
Uh
I'm not suggesting like exploiting that for your,
no, I know. It's just
but
revisiting and reliving and like, do I want to relive or do I just want to experience more life before it ends?
right,
New life, as it were.
right. Uh,
And listen, I have 3 or 4 more antimatters planned and ready to. That'll be awesome if I can do the work and continue to pimp, hype, hustle, whatever. You want your fan base to grow, and I feel like I found out what my fan base is basically, and
mhm,
can I sustain a lifestyle like that? I don't think so, but I don't know. And then, for someone who's become allergic to pitching, I have been pitching recently, and then you find out, oh, they just, as you're pitching a month later, half the staff is fired, or
right,
they're not publishing as much, so sorry, but come back to me next year, kind of a thing.
right.
And like that, I can't survive like that either. And then I have uh little gigs here potentially, but at like a third of the price that I would
Sure,
normally get paid.
right.
And it's just like, oh my God. And then don't even talk about AI and everything else, of
Well, we're
course.
gonna, because I did want to bring something up about it
Oh, okay.
from last week.
Okay.
You remember?
But and we were talking about, I don't know if you want to bring up Stripe again. Uh
Oh,
uh
Jesus. Uh, Basically, they're
But
now.
let me just wrap up on one
Yeah, I was
thing
going to
before we
say.
get to that, which was, and I might have said this to you on the phone, but when someone like has a premonition, they're about to get into a flight,
Yeah, yeah,
and they feel like that the flight's gonna crash, so they elect to not get in the flight, and this rarely ever happens, but
right.
then the plane crashes. I have this like omen kind of feeling of like, if I go away, I'm gonna crash in some plane, and I don't even know what I'm flying.
I,
Like,
I mean, I think
and maybe I need to do that. I don't know.
you sent me a video on Instagram. As everyone knows, we have an Instagram jihad when it comes to sending each other reels. But you sent me this one where a guy jumps out of a plane and with no parachute, and
Yep.
he lands in a net, which I'm watching the entire time going, this is freaking bonkers. Like never in a million years. Like I don't even care if the net's there. And like you gotta like plan where you're gonna fall. You have to move a certain way and stuff. I could, like there are people that do this. I wouldn't say for a living, but they just do it. Like, and I think that's what you're feeling. I think you're feeling like if you jump out of the plane and do this big stunt, will there be a net under you to catch you, or will you have to admit that not wearing the parachute was the biggest mistake you'll ever make?
Well, all
You
right,
know
so
what I mean?
that's a good analogy for particular projects I need to do or have to do or want to do.
Right.
My other existential uh crisis is, uh do I still want to make comics? Do I still want to write and make stories? I can't help myself. I
I'm the
do,
same way.
but I also am like, I don't do other things in life like go out. I mean, I help people in one way, but I don't help them in the normal ways, if that
Mm.
makes sense. Like I help other like-minded artists, let's say, or I'll help somebody like in the street, for the 3 seconds, that they might need some aid or something. So that's just being a human being.
Sure.
Uh, but like I don't know, man. I'm in a weird place where I'm really good at articulating myself and I can't articulate myself.
You know what's funny, Dean? I don't want to help anybody. Like it's like whenever like I work in retail, and that's the thing. Like that's all you do is help people, and
Yeah.
by and large, you find out that people are stupid. So I don't want to help anybody. I'd rather
Or
just.
lazy, or lazy.
But the other thing too is I don't want to help myself to their disadvantage. Do you know what I mean? Like I don't want to take advantage of them at the benefit of myself.
Mm,
That's not my goal.
mm,
All I want to do is I want to just make my wife happy, make my kids happy, maybe make my mom happy, maybe make my sister happy. Like that's all I really want to do. And then in the process, the things that make me happy by doing all that just are a happy byproduct. Do you know what I mean?
or I was almost going to say, you if there's a totem pole
Right.
and the top, pole position is the one who's supposed to be made the happiest, it should be you.
Right. Right. It should be. But
You
I'm
know.
happy. I'm happy just being at the bottom.
Hmm.
What I mean, and having Sadie, James, Michelle, up on that. Like
Hmm.
that's where I'm happiest. Like sacrificing whatever to make sure. Like the was it Sunday I think or Saturday? Um, I was supposed to send Charlie the files for Stray, and we were supposed to look at something before I sent them, and I was like, my kids want to go for a ride, and we're going to go take a hike, you know, just to get away from screens and everything. I was like, I'm just going to be, you know, on do not disturb, and he's like, go have fun, and you know what I mean? Like he
And he
understands.
gets it because he has kids, and I think you've hit it a little bit on the head. Is that, I mean, I technically have a biological daughter that I'm not a parent of, right?
Right.
Uh, who's the mother was born on May 30th, so I'll be texting a little happy birthday. But I don't have, let's just say, like, I don't have kids that like stop me from super indulging myself to the point where I indulge. Like, I have cats, and I'm
Yeah.
going to super miss my cats every
Sure.
night I'm away. Uh, but I don't have, the child I'm raising, or the person that depends on me to live and survive, and to take me away, almost like a force majeure,
Yeah.
like something that you cannot necessarily predict, or it throws a wrench into the system, the chaos of childhood, the chaos of being a parent,
Mhm.
and I'm going to go, in fact, do the opposite. I'm told that I'm going to go to a place where I'm going to be fed, have a place to sleep and a place to work, and only indulge me.
Right.
And I guess I'm a little tired of me right now, if that makes sense.
I understand that. I think I I wouldn't say that the answer is taking a more active role in your biological but non-parenting daughter's life, like that's not the answer. She'll come to you when she's ready, you know what I mean?
No,
Like,
and I
and
we're
I know
it's
that you
open. We
guys
can
are,
hang.
yeah,
But I'm thinking like in my local street, like my local, like I used to be I always say that out of all the jobs I had, non-comics jobs, my favorite one was being a waiter or an expediter of food at a
right.
restaurant that was hopping, because it changed every night that
Yeah.
you worked there. The personality, the tone, the laughter, the tears, the types of people, and it all was anchored by food, you
Yeah.
know, and drink. And that to me is so basic and so honest in a weird way, you know.
Yeah.
Uh,
One of our earlier episodes, I said, what would you do if you weren't doing this? And you said short order cook or something to that
Oh
effect.
yeah, I would be a short
Yeah.
order cook because I like making food for people. That's that same feeling, I think, when you say you're at the bottom and you want to make
Right.
people happy. That's a way of making people happy, you know? I mean, we should probably just name this episode Power Bottom.
Writing it down right now.
There we go.
72 power bottom.
Power Bottom, which is a whole other thing. Anyway,
Yes.
so I don't know, man. I don't want to bring people down. I'm
I
not
don't think
even,
I
it's
don't
not
think
about bringing
that's
down. It's
yeah,
just,
I think that's a reality. I mean, your birthday's on Monday or
yeah, and
Sunday.
I'm going to be around strangers that, like, do I say at the dinner table, "Hey, everybody, it's my birthday"?
Hey,
Like,
guys,
hey
you
guys,
know what happened 59 years ago today? and
and
they'll be
nobody asks
and then
what,
they'll be
and
like
nobody asks what.
they'll
Oh,
be like, oh, the moon landing. And they're
yeah,
like,
all right.
shut up. That's the only thing that landed that day.
That's not the only thing that.
I know.
Wait,
I mean,
67 wasn't no moon landing.
it's uh it's a very real conversation to have for yourself, not just with yourself. Like like the ultimate goal of thinking about things like this is, well, what's the best outcome that will come of going to Yato, and what can I do to take advantage of that?
Hmm.
We got an email this week from Brad Tree, uh, confirming our positions at Baltimore. Which is makes me extremely excited. Like,
Oh yeah, I mean Baltimore is my favorite show of the year.
and I think the thing about Yato is it's it's funny because, like, I'm sitting here also saying to myself, then why go? Like, if you're gonna,
Oh,
but I think everyone needs that quiet, just like silence for clarity. Do you know what I mean? Like, they just need that time to just be like,
well, also that's where you make things. Not only, I mean, everyone I've talked to about this, including you, Jen, Whitney, is like go take a timeout, reflect. And I'm like, that's the thing. I think there are two things I'm scared of the most is taking that time out, but also I'm not making money.
right.
Oh, there's some of my dad's stuff.
Yeah, this first one, man, I think we need to talk to you, Dad.
So my dad, I don't know how old he was when he drew. So what we're looking at right now is the Julian's auction page, where there's a lot of Marilyn Monroe ephemera being sold off, and including, and this isn't from my dad's collection. This was on her person or her
Yeah,
estate or someone else's. There's some footage of him with Marilyn. There's
yeah, right here.
and there's his books and pictures, and oh my God, look at that from the
Yeah,
estate of Lee Strasberg. Yeah.
yeah,
So and then like a drawing he did of her for a Halloween card, yeah, go type in James Haspiel and go pick up a piece of history if you're
and
into Maryland.
there's a couple of articles here as well. Oh, look, Marilyn Monroe, James Haspel, home movie reel, 25. You know, the saddest thing about this is I know this isn't your like from your dad's collection. See, it says property
Yep.
from the estate of Lee
Hmm.
Strasberg. But like you going away, my goodness, like that money could help you. You know what I
It
mean?
helped my father.
Yeah,
if
yeah,
if it went to
exactly.
my father, like on the one hand, he's like, holy mackerel, I'm in an auction at Julian's,
Yeah,
but he isn't making the money. But he does have his own collection of stuff. So I mean, I don't know if that means they can do another Marilyn Monroe sale, as it were,
right.
and he is 88 for how long, I don't know. So
Yeah, your
and
dad
that's another
passed.
thing, Vito, is like both my parents in declining health.
Yeah.
Uh like again,
Do you
I
feel
can't
selfish for doing something like this then because of that?
No, because they would tell me go do it, or I would tell you to go.
Right,
Everyone says go do it, go
right.
do the thing,
There's
but
a
I just feel rudderless in a way.
I got to send you this clip from Curb Your Enthusiasm. So there's a I think Larry goes to New York to film a Martin Scorsese movie, and
Mm.
hijinks ensue. It's funny, and then he comes back to L.A. and he goes to see his dad, and he's like, "How's mom?" He goes, "Well, she didn't want to bother you, et cetera, et cetera." Come to find out, she died while he was away. Nobody called him. It's
Oh
just
my
like
God.
it's
She
like your
didn't want to
nightmare.
bother you. Yeah, I mean, in a way, and that's the phone call. The reason why, God, sometimes friends of mine will text me at 5:30 a.m. or 6:30 a.m. or 7 or 8 or 9, and I went to bed at 2 or 3 a.m. But
Yeah,
I have my phone on for that emergency call,
yeah.
for that phone call, which is, it keeps me on edge. And if I get an early morning, whatever, I'm like, it happened.
Yeah, I
Something
my
bad
phone
happened.
every night right before I go to sleep, I turn it on sleep, and I mean like nighttime mode, which is basically
Hmm.
do not disturb until my alarm goes off.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
I don't see anything until six
And
thirty.
actually, that's the real thing to do, because there's nothing I can do if something bad happens
Yeah.
at 5 a.m. Like,
What am I going to
uh,
do? Cry earlier?
I know
Like
exactly.
basically. Um,
Right.
so I
Exactly.
wanted to bring up, I mean, we're going to kind of cut this short here in a little bit, but I
Yep.
wanted to bring up the whole AI conversation because something very interesting happened between you and I talking on the phone and today. And what I had said to you on the phone was in our conversation with Anne Nascenti last week, I was like, you know what? I think Dean is right. I think I should give more to the artist, in terms of figuring things out instead of just giving them something that um, I make through Google or whatever.
Well, we'll set it up. You as the writer will
Right,
come up with a character idea, and then you want to see that character
right.
because you're having a tough time visualizing. So you use the AI as a way to create a visual prompt, and then what you've been doing is you've been sharing that with your co-creator, the artist,
Hmm.
and then you finesse that version into something that you come up with ultimately. And all we were saying, or I was saying, was I want to, as the artist, to have and the co-creator have the opportunity
Right.
to kind of imagine it before I see what you were thinking or what you came up with through AI. And so now we're back to you.
And I think that's a much better use of not so much AI, but much better use of collaboration. I think I was, for the sake of making something not faster, but just something easier for the artists that I work with, I was trying to cut out a step. And I think you're ultimately right that I should not cut out the step.
Right, right. And again, that's a step that got cut out recently. And
Mm,
before that's getting cut out, it was never cut out. It was always or sometimes the writer will come up with a quick sketch idea,
mm,
um like for instance, we've all seen Steve Ditko's interpretation of Jack Kirby's original idea for Spider-Man,
yeah,
which I'm so glad, and I love Jack Kirby, but I'm so glad that that's not what Spider-Man looks like, that
right.
it looks like Steve Ditko's Spider-Man, like.
Funny enough, I saw somebody do like it was this morning, I saw somebody had done a superpowers customized figure
Mm,
of that. And I was just like, oh, that's a really good looking figure.
mm.
Not so much of the artistry, behind, customizing it.
Has anyone ever taken that design and create a character and have him fight Spider-Man or anything? I
My
mean,
knowledge would be great, but
although they'd be basically, if it's really from Steve Ditko's mind and his memory, that might be a blurry little. But
yeah,
I'll talk to Mark Zenditko about floating that idea around. Maybe getting I don't know,
permission from
Mark Wade to
him.
write it and Sammy to draw it, or me, or whoever, you and I, whatever.
Right.
That could be fun. But yeah, so so that last week's conversation with Anacenti kind of, a light bulb went off in your head, I guess, and you're like, wait a second.
It's more like the light bulb that I had over my head was kind of shattered. Like it just like exploded. It's just like
Right.
they're 100% right. And I mean, you think about in terms of, I mean, in terms of like data centers and the impact on the land and the neighborhoods that their water supply that data centers are they raise the heat of the places that they're in, like whatever how many degrees it is, like 6 degrees, like they raise it, like that's insane, like that's just
Hmm.
going to be killing off trees and stuff. And it's
Hmm.
like, it's not that it's like I don't want to be part of that, and I want to make that clear. And there are ethical ways of using AI that are probably not what I'm doing, you know. But I'm very interested in being ethical about it and being responsible about it.
Well, that's the key word, ethical, and we have to define that so that we are ethical about it, because it does have its usage, and yet it's hurting a lot of people, and it's making it impossible to have work and jobs, because then what is it? And we were going in a weird way. What I'm talking about with Yato is my purpose. Like, what is my purpose
Right.
anymore? And why did I think writing and drawing comics was a purpose? Because it is. But like, if I'm, you know, have a hesitation, what's that hesitation about? Is it because it's just, as I get older, it just gets more difficult to do? And what is the quote payoff? And again, I don't use the word payoff for monetary, but I need to think monetarily, because that's how we
Oh,
live.
that's your cross to bear. Like that's a totally different, and like, and I'm not saying me having a full-time job, I don't get paid, Mark or Jeff Bezos's salary. It's not like I'm like, look, I'm in a bathroom. You know what I
You're
mean?
in a bathroom. Your office is a bathroom.
Ostensibly, but
Yeah.
the um you're talking about security, and you're talking about the feasibility of making art in a world where everything's just it's exponentially more expensive,
It's so much more
right?
expensive. And
Whether
like,
it's
we're talking about
gas,
six,
whether
$5 and $6 comic books, and we're charging more for ours because they're more artisanal, let's say.
right?
And like, some people might listen to this podcast and go get a job. Shut the fuck up. Get a job.
Sure, sure.
Go get a real job. And yeah, they're right about that. And maybe I need to do that. Except the thing is, I don't know what that is at this
Mm,
point after all these years.
right.
We discussed that. So I don't know. And speaking of real job and getting paid, I had a blow up conversation with a major magazine on my father's behalf, because they insisted on a way of paying him a little bit of money for something he was involved in recently. But he's 88 and doesn't deal with. I saw an interview with Christopher Nolan, the director. He's like, I don't do email. I don't have a smartphone. He had a flip phone for just in case. Okay. But the thing is, the truth is, he has a staff that will deal with
Sure.
emails, and but he doesn't deal with it. So, but my father definitely doesn't deal with it, and neither do a lot of older people that don't understand how to use something that is has become easy for us. You go, well, you just do this, this, and this, right? And they're like, I don't know what you're talking about, right?
Yeah.
So for older people to get paid, they have to be part of this current system, and they're not. So you're jumping through 100 loops, and you're wasting your time, to the point where I'm like, and I've used this example before, like, I'm helping my father, so that's on me and my family, but I'm not getting a dime of this money.
Sure.
And I took a half a day through 20 emails. I'm not getting paid to respond and write emails. But the other people on the other side, that's their job, their salary. They're getting paid. And trust me, when they're off the clock, they're not responding to my email until the next day.
And
You
then
know?
and then at that point, you're also looking at 16 hours that you've not been drawing.
That's right. Or not working or trying to get a job or try to figure out why I'm going to yada or whatever the hell
Hmm.
was happening that week, or spending quality time with human beings. And so it becomes a maddening thing. It becomes maddening. And so I finally blew up and the other person totally understood and respected, like, yeah, yell fuck, scream and kick. And so and we figured it out eventually, but I was like, oh my God. And I swear to God, one of the people that was on the other side of this conversation, I think was an AI robot because they never read one thing I said. They only responded to an editor who would then reiterate what I said. And finally said, are you reading anything I'm saying? And then why am I even typing this and doing
Right.
any of this?
Like, why don't
You
you
know,
focus
I I
on
I I I know that like I may be inarticulate in what I what's happening next in my life, but that's the journey of life, I guess, right? But
right.
trust me, I truck in comics and narrative clarity, and I know that I what I wrote,
Good
you
point.
should be able to understand
Yeah.
what is happening, you know?
I saw a thing on Threads this morning where this woman was defending her right to correct people's speech because we've gotten so lazy and we're promoting functional illiteracy. She's like, it's I know you like if you don't know the difference between there, and there, like, and I'm showing you, you should be grateful that I'm showing you. And she's right,
She's
to
not wrong, but at the same time, you wouldn't get a Harvey Pekar American Splendor comic book, right? Where he observed and listened to the inaccuracies of
right,
humanity,
right.
it's what made them human.
Yeah.
And when someone is very strictly about grammar, they can go a little overboard. And trust me, I dated a woman that corrected my grammar all the time. And I have a really good friend, Josh Schoenfeld, who I said in I think our interview with him, that I would mail him a letter and he would mail it back to me with corrections in red pen.
What a
The
dick
hell?
move. I love it. Uh,
Speaking of, wait, do I have it here? Hold on. I want to show you something that you're going to be like, what is that? No, you'll know what it is. You see this?
where did that come from?
It's a postcard that somebody wrote to me.
Oh, that's nice. I know what a
It's a
postcard.
postcard. Do you get postcards anymore?
Rarely. I mean, I've gotten one in the last 5 or 6 years, but
And this one was written from Gil Roth,
oh
who
yeah.
Virtual Memory Show. Uh, and you know what? I'm going to read it out loud because why not? And it's written in tiny handwriting. So, but I think you'll enjoy this. In my far younger days, I would date events in my life by when/where I bought a particular comic book, a life, such as it was, plotted by issues of the X-Men. Recently, it struck me that I can remember/recreate so many aspects of my in-person podcasts, and that those experiences are more real to me than most anything else in my life. It's as though the rest of the time has been spent sleepwalking, but the comics thing makes me wonder if I've just traded one life map for another.
That's very sweet.
Isn't that beautiful?
The last time I got a postcard, um, I don't have it in my drawer. I thought I had it right
Thanks, Gil Roth. Just want to see.
there. Yeah.
And go listen to Virtual Memory Show. Great podcast.
We had a customer at Hanley's um, many moons ago. His name's Saad, and I forget his last name, but it's not necessary. And I said to him just, in a conversation, I was like, one of these days I'd really love to go to like Kathmandu or Nepal, just to, and he sent me postcards from Nepal. And I'm like, you son of a bitch, you went. but I thought it was like that was a conversation we had like years ago, like, and like that was something they remember,
And he
right?
remembered, and then one day, that's awesome. That's
Yeah,
beautiful. And you got a little piece of Nepal. You had to
that's
travel.
exactly right.
And that's what I love about postcards. There is a certain it has a certain DNA of the writer, from the place that it originated from. All the hassle went through the mail system,
Mhm.
and then to your doorstep. And it's a
Yeah.
beautiful thing. And in a way, that's one of the reasons why I handwrite addresses, at least for now, to all my Kickstarter comics. I
Oh,
think
you mean
you have
like
one right
this?
there. There it is. Boom. Because that's part of the human
The
exchange.
experience.
and experience. So,
Speaking of
and then,
experience, I do want to bring up one last topic because
yeah,
we're going to cut out early.
yep.
Did you see that Stan Lee's estate has approved that his likeness and voice can be used for AI?
By the way, are you surprised at all?
Not at all. Not at all.
I mean, and I'm not even offended. I don't feel like it's wrong. I think that it's absolutely 1000% right.
It's not that I think it's right because I don't think it's right. I think it's like you're you think
But
about
that's who he was. That's in a
that's
way,
right. That's
why
why
it's
it's right.
right.
Like exactly. Like I feel like there's something very maybe not unethical but disingenuous about it, you know, like
But he was
but it's totally a Stan thing.
yeah, I don't know about disingenuous.
If there's
Um,
if there was ever one person that wants to be like immortal, and I hesitate to say because of his ego, but wants to be immortal, it would be Stan.
and the other one who's running the country right now.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean,
What
absolutely.
does that say then? You know about
Well, I know, but one, uh, well, the bad one is just that's just fascist evil,
right?
and the other one's against fascism.
Yeah,
So I
maybe
don't know.
he wants to stay alive as it is to kind of spread the idea that a guy from Queens, you know, a little teenager from Queens can make a difference, which I think that's an eternal message. That's
Well, there's that, but also like the work he did, at least at Marvel, it was about 9 or 10 years, and then he was out and trying to sell it as a movie and everything else,
yeah,
and whatever was next. You sign a contract sometimes, and it says we own the rights to turn this into all the media, and then they'll use a
perpetuity.
word or a sentence like plus whatever else comes down the road, like kind of a
Yeah,
thing, like, and you don't even know what that is, you
mhm,
know. And that's where Stan Lee went, is to
yeah,
beyond, you
yeah.
know. So that just makes sense to me. But also James Earl Jones gave his voice to Darth Vader forever,
Sure, sure.
so, and I can't imagine another person doing Darth Vader's voice. So,
Yeah, that's true. And I mean, the
you
thing
know,
about the Stan thing that bothers me, I think, is that I sometimes feel like a person that dies, even with the impact they've had on whatever is entertainment, literature, politics, whatever it is, I think that when they die, they should be remembered, not reminded constantly. Do you know what I mean?
or resurrected in a way,
Definitely not. Yeah.
And
It strikes me as icky, but at the same time, it's totally in character.
it's just in character. And like when you see him pop up in the next Marvel movie, you're just gonna be wondering like, oh, I guess that's the way he showed up in this one. It's
Right.
like it's it's Hitchcock is a wrong way, because Hitchcock was famous for his cameos,
Yeah,
to
yeah.
the point where he realized early on, oh, I got to show up in the first couple of minutes of the movie because they're going to be not paying attention to the movie. They're going to be trying to look for me throughout
That's
the
me,
movie.
right.
So let me do it early on. But then there's no example of Hitchcock universe. Hold on a second.
Who?
Where did you hear that?
No,
Oh, you don't hear the sirens?
no.
Oh wow, it was really loud over here. There isn't like a Hitchcock universe, right? Of I mean, it's weird because they are trying to create like Stephen King universes,
Oh,
with
and
TV
then you got
shows.
Tarantino's got his own little universe.
Tarantino's always has a little
I
universe with
say,
like a
Red Apple
pack of
cigarettes.
cigarettes, yeah,
Mm,
Red Apple cigarettes or whatever. But yeah, the idea of universe building has become more prevalent,
right.
So I mean, I guess what's the DC Comics equivalent of a Stan Lee? There
At
isn't.
this point, Big Belly Burger probably. It's like it's a franchise. You'll see it in Peacemaker. Like there's a in Superman. I think there's a billboard. It's something that came up. I want to say during Helfer's with Dematis and Giffin's JLA. Like I think
I didn't even
it,
know
it
about
was
this.
it was I think it's supposed to be based on Andy, like the mascot, kind of like Bob's Big Boy kind of thing, and it's called Big Belly Burger, and like you see it a lot in different DC things. That's like I think the only equivalent because DC doesn't have a Stanley. They never did.
No, I'm thinking of an actual like personality, voice, face
Who are you gonna
of a
get?
character.
Julie Schwartz grabbing ass everywhere?
Yeah, it's not Julie Schwartz, it's not Paul Levitz,
Definitely not.
it's not, I don't think they have one like that, but it's
You got to think of
interesting.
it. You got to remember that DC Comics was formed by 3 or 4 different comic companies being bought. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
Green Lantern wasn't a DC comic; it was like a national
Oh, I see what you're
something. You know,
saying.
and then like they all just
Right.
kind of formed. And then, when the Silver Age came, they owned all that until they bought Fawcett Comics in like the
Right.
60s or 70s. So,
Right. Hey, I just now as we're talking, I got is it a Facebook message from Gary Challoner
oh, Gav.
of Club Domingo.
Mhm.
And he said, I'll just flash it in my text. I don't know if it can show. Hold
We
on.
mentioned
No.
antimatter number one. That's all I saw.
He goes, we mentioned antimatter number one again this week towards the end of the latest show uploaded today. And then he goes, I think Tim and I enjoyed it.
Let's end right there. That's perfect.
There it is.
So thank you everyone for joining us. I want to say quickly, happy birthday, Dean, in advance. I will definitely call or text you on Sunday like I always do. Whether or
Thank you.
not you answer, I understand you're away. So it's like I always do it. My mom and you are the first people I call on May 31st. So happy birthday to you.
Thank you.
Enjoy it somehow. Make yourself enjoy it. Uh, just a reminder, we have t-shirts for sale. It would be fun to see somebody show up at a convention with one of our t-shirts on. It's absolutely insane. But also, if you feel like contributing to the show, we do want to upgrade some of our equipment. We do have a link down there to do that. I will be appearing at Three Rivers Comic Con next weekend, which would be this weekend coming, June 6th and 7th, at Three Rivers Con. That is going to be held at the David L. Lawrence Convention Center. My entire family will be there. My good buddy DJ Kaufman will be there. Steve Bearfield, who's been on the show, he'll be there. Sora Sung, one of the nicest people you'll ever meet. A bunch of people are going to be there. So Howard Mackey is one of the special guests. Ale Garza is one of the guests. Like definitely a lot of people for you to meet. So come on over. Saturday and Sunday, 2-day show at the David L. Lawrence Convention Center. And thank you very much, everybody, for watching and listening. We will see you next week with our episode 73. I think next week. I mean, Dean's going to be in another world, so
we'll make it happen. We'll make it happen.
And we'll probably call that like since this one's Power Bottom, that one will be like Sloppy Toppy or something. I don't know. Anyway, have a good night, everybody.